UFC Fight Night Blaydes versus Daukaus full card prediction. Very early. Today is March 16th on Wednesday. We still have maybe 10 days, maybe 11 days till the fight card does happen, but we got Daukaus and Curtis Blaydes in the main event. We got Grasso and Joanne Calderwood in the co-main event. Kai Kara France and Askar Askarov, Brian Barberina and Matt Brown, Aleksei Oleinik and Ilir Latifi, Karol Rosa, Sarah McMann, Sungwoo Choi, Tucker Luz, David Dvorak, Matheus Nicolau, Neil Magny, and Max Griffin. Don't know how that's on the prelims. Still don't know how, because I mean both Neil Magny and Max Griffin are better than Matt Brown and Brian Barberina in the same division. We got Marc Diakiese, Viacheslav Borshchev, or Slava Borshchev. We got Bruno Souza, Luis Saldana, Batgerel, Danaa, and Chris Gutierrez, Manon Fiorot, and Jennifer Maia, and Aliaskhab, Khizriev, and Denis Tiuliulin. Gonna be a solid card right here. Cannot wait for it. A few fights did get canceled. Lerone Murphy, Nate Landwehr, Aliaskhab, Khizriev, Abasupian, Magomedov, Batgerel, Danaa, Montel Jackson, Hebuz versus Waterson, Blackwicks, Rockage, and Onama Landwehr. So a lot of cancellations on a few fights I thought would be absolute bangers, like that main event one, like Onama Landwehr, like Montel Jackson, Batgerel, but it's still going to be a good card. So we're going to go into the first one here in the UFC middleweight division. Aliaskhab, Khizriev, and Denis Tiuliulin in the middleweight division. I tried before this video to get that name correct. I cannot get that name. But yeah, Denis, I'm just going to say the first name. 10 wins and 5 losses. Getting some solid wins over there in UAW. Or UAE Warriors 18 right there. And inside of Brave CF. His only losses, solid guys. Ikram Aliaskhab, a guy that is only lost to Hamza Chimaev and just fought inside of Eagle FC. And then a few other guys that are very solid over there. He's got 8 knockout wins, 0 submission wins, and then 1 decision win. That 1 decision win was his first fight back in 2013. It's finish or get finished in most of his fights, and I do believe that is going to be the case here. With a guy like Aliaskhab Khizriev, he's also a guy that's finish, get to finish or get finished in his fights. He has not lost a professional or amateur MMA fight in his career so far, but he's definitely a finisher. 5 wins in a row, first shot knockout, decision win, first shot knockout, and a rear naked choke submission. In the striking, I would say it's going to be pretty decently even. I would say Aliaskhab is the more well-rounded guy, but maybe Denis could have a chance to land that one punch to get the knockout. But overall, like the overall striking advantage, it's going to go Aliaskhab Khizriev. He's got the very good body shots, as we saw in his second to last fight. He's got really good kicks, and of course he has the wrestling and the grappling to fall back on as well. We don't know if that's going to be his primary game plan against Denis, to go out there, look for the takedown, look for the wrestling, or if it's going to be to strike with Denis. I really don't know what the game plan is going to be for Khizriev, but either way, if he's going out there to strike, if he's going out there to wrestle, if he's going out there to grapple, it doesn't really matter. Everywhere the fight goes, I do believe he is the better fighter. He's at minus 300 as of right now, a 3-1 favor, which means 75% chance that Aliaskhab Khizriev wins this fight. I would have to agree with that. Denis is coming in on short notice. He hasn't really beaten any legit opponents over there on the regional scene. Aliaskhab has beaten a few guys, Husimel Palhares, Henrique Shigemoto. I mean, some solid guys over there as well, but yeah, should be a solid fight. Aliaskhab just well-rounded. He's better pretty much everywhere, and I got him by finish in the first or second round. Manon Fiorot and Jennifer Maia in the flyweight division. Manon Fiorot, 32 years old, 8 wins and 1 loss, only losing to Bellator fighter Leah McCourt. Sort of a robbery if you watch the fight back. I don't really know if I could say she won the fight, but yeah, she came back after that with a decision win, a 3rd round knockout win, a 3rd round knockout win again, 2nd round knockout win, 1st round knockout win, 2nd round knockout win, 2nd round knockout win, and a decision win, beating some very solid opponents on the way. But her last win over Mayra Bueno Silva, Mayra gave her a little bit of trouble. If she wasn't doing all her little antics and things like that, it could have been a little little bit of a closer fight. Now, by any means am I saying that Jennifer Maia is going to go out there and outstrike Fiorot? No, I'm not. Obviously, I'm not going to be saying that, but am I saying that Fiorot is a lock on this fight? It's definitely not going to be a lock. She's right now minus 270, minus 285 on some bookies as well. I don't know if I agree with that because Fiorot is untested in the UFC. She's fought a bunch of unranked opponents, Mayra Silva, Tabitha Hichi, Victoria Leonardo, a lot of girls that maybe are at the end of their UFC careers or at the beginning of their UFC careers, just not really like ranked women's flyweight opponents. Now she's going against the deepest opponent that she's gotten in her entire career in Jennifer Maia, who beat Jessica Ai, Joanne Calderwood, fought Valentina Shevchenko, Caitlin Chukagian, and then Caitlin Chukagian yet again. I do believe Fiorot is going to win the fight, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. Yeah, we saw Caitlin outstrike her, we saw Valentina outstrike Jennifer Maia, but those girls have a lot better takedown defense than Fiorot. So I do believe it's going to be a much closer fight than the bookies have it, and that the Tapology predictions, I'm assuming, have it at 85%. I think it's going to be a lot closer, but I think Fiorot outstrikes Jennifer Maia on the feet and wins a decision. The only way Jennifer Maia is going to win is if she mixes in the wrestling and grappling, which is possible that she can use that. I don't expect to finish. Manon has never been finished in her career. Jennifer Maia didn't get finished against Caitlin, Valentina, and it's plenty of other fights. So yeah, it should go to a decision. Fiorot by a unanimous decision. Batgerel Danaa and Gutierrez in the bantamweight division. It's going to be a banger of a fight. Gutierrez, really good kicking game, beating Felipe Colares in his last fight. Andre Ewell before that, fighting Cody Durden, Vince Morales, Geraldo de Freitas. I mean, getting some pretty solid wins inside of the UFC. He's only 30 years old. It's going to be a little bit taller, but nowhere near the length of Danaa Batgerel. Now, Danaa, you wouldn't really think of him as a very long opponent. When you look at him in his fights, I don't really see him being a very long opponent. I'm going to be quite honest with you, but he's a very good striker. Going out there, knocking out Guido Guinetti, knocking out Kevin Natividad, Brandon Davis, and then getting some wins before that as well. Gutierrez is going to have to win this fight by decision. He's not going to go out there and finish Danaa Batgerel. It's not going to happen in this type of fight. He's going to have to kick the heck out of Danaa Batgerel's legs over and over again for 3 straight rounds and just stay out of range of that power that Danaa Batgerel does have. Gutierrez, he's beaten some very legit opponents in the UFC. He beat Ryan McDonald, only lost to Ioni Barcelos in the UFC, and Timur Valiev, 2 very legit guys. And Gerard Sanders, another pretty legit guy over there, that did fight in the UFC for a little bit. Fought Pedro Munoz, and some other guys that you probably don't really know about. But, yeah, he's a solid opponent. This should be a good fight. The betting odds have it pretty much at 50-50. But, the fact that this fight is on short notice for Gutierrez, a slight underdog here, that is one thing. Gutierrez also coming in there with the power disadvantage, with the reach disadvantage. I think Danaa is going to pressure the heck out of him. I think he's going to knock down Gutierrez a time or 2 in this fight, land some huge shots. I don't expect to finish, even though he's knocked out Guido, he's knocked out Kevin Natividad, he's knocked out Brandon Davis, even though he's knocked out all of those guys. I'm going to go with decision here. I'm going to go Batgerel Danaa or Danaa Batgerel by a unanimous decision. Luis Saldana and Bruno Souza in the featherweight division. Bruno Souza, he needs to go out there and mix in some wrestling and grappling. What he did in his last fight with Melsi Bagdasaryan is not going to work against Luis Saldana. Luis is going to be the taller opponent. He's going to be the lengthier opponent. He's going to be the better striker. Yeah, Bruno Souza has the Wonderboy Thompson, little karate stance, things like that. You would think maybe that could give him an edge in the striking against some of his opponents, but still, I don't really think that's the best way to win this fight against Luis Saldana, another legit striker striker in this UFC featherweight division. He beat Jordan Griffin before that. He beat Vince Murdoch by front kick knockout in the first round. Got a few submission wins as well. He's a very, very legit striker, but his cardio isn't really the best there. That's why I do see it as a pretty 50-50 fight. Right now, the odds are pretty 50-50. Luis Saldana is going to be the slight favorite at minus 136 on most of those bookies. I think it's going to be so 50-50. 77% is going Souza, and then 23% is going Saldana. It should be a very, very close one. I think Bruno Souza's best way of winning is going to be to kind of do what Austin Lingo did in their fight and kind of cardio drain Luis Saldana, just pressuring him, which isn't really Bruno Souza's style, but he's going to need to take the fight down every now and then in this fight and mix in that wrestling and grappling, but I don't think he'll be able to dominate him that much in this fight. And that's why it's going to be probably a 29-28 split decision for one of these guys. It's probably the closest fight on the card, in my opinion. Maybe once we watch the fight on next Saturday, maybe we see Luis Saldana knock him out. Maybe we see Bruno Souza dominate him on the ground. You never know. It is MMA, but for right now, I do think it is the closest fight on the card. I'm going to lean Bruno Souza. I think the striking could be played very, very evenly. I know Bruno Souza, all he really needs to do in the striking is stay away from the big, powerful punches of Luis Saldana, land a lot of leg kicks, a lot of body kicks, things like that. Just, little tip-tap shots on the outside. Keep the striking very, very even. Then mix in a takedown, mix in a little bit of wrestling, drain on the gas tank and the cardio of Luis Saldana. And we got a very, very close decision win for Bruno Souza. It's such a close fight there. Slightly go Bruno Souza, winning the fight by a decision. Viacheslav Borshchev and Marc Diakiese in the lightweight division. Slava Borshchev or Viacheslav Borshchev on a 4-fight win streak. Lost to William Starks by split decision, but if you guys go watch the fight back, it could be argued that Viacheslav did win that fight. After that, when he got a TKO win, he knocked out Kenny St. Louis, went on to fight over here in the Contender Series, and he knocked out Chris Duncan absolutely insane. Then he knocked out Dakota Bush with a body shot. Very, very legit striker here. Really, really good kickboxing. And both guys here, Diakiese and Borshchev, their main way of winning here is probably going to go out there and look for some sort of knockout. Marc Diakiese could go out there and maybe do a little bit of wrestling, but I would say he needs to land that big punch and knock out Viacheslav Borshchev in the fight. A lot of the fights that he's losing have been a very, very solid strikers. Rafael Vaziev, Nasrat Hakparas, Dan Hooker, Drakkar Klose right there. Very, very solid strikers there, but he has gotten some solid wins. Joe Duffy and Orlando Venata. This should be a close fight. I think Viacheslav Borshchev should definitely win. I don't know if it's going to be by knockout, though. I don't remember. He did get submitted in his last fight against Rafael Alves, but I don't remember the last time that he's been knocked out in any of his fights. I think Marc Diakiese could mix in a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of grappling as well. Viacheslav being the better striker, I don't think he's going to find that mark to necessarily knock out Marc Diakiese. You see what I did there? I'm sorry. I don't think he's going to find the mark and knock out Marc Diakiese, but I think he's going to outstrike him for 3 rounds. And a guy that's never been knocked out is very hard to knock out. The guys that Viacheslav has been beating have also been guys that haven't really been knocked out, so I could be spitting out of my mouth horrible information, but yeah, I don't think Marc Diakiese didn't get knocked out by Rafael Vaziev. I don't know if he's going to get knocked out by Viacheslav Borshchev. So yeah, my prediction here, Viacheslav Borshchev by a unanimous decision. Neil Magny and Max Griffin in the welterweight division. Both guys getting some really solid wins recently. Max Griffin did lose to Alex Morono and then Alex Oliveira, both about 2 years ago. Then he beat some, decent competition, not really the best guys out there, but Ramiz Brahimaj, Kenan Song, and then Carlos Condon. Now, the older fighter, the guy that's going to be not as tall, not as lengthy as Neil Magny, is going to get a ranked opponent. I still don't understand how Max Griffin is getting a ranked fight against Neil Magny in this welterweight division. There are plenty of other guys that deserve a fight with Neil Magny. I'm not saying these guys necessarily deserve it, but they definitely deserve it more than a guy like, come on, you look at some of the guys here, Daniel Rodriguez beating Kevin Lee, Preston Austin Parsons, as well as Micah Perry, only losing to Nicholas Dalby, which if you watch it, it was a robbery. Alex Morono, a guy that, actually beat Max Griffin in the past about a few years ago. He did lose to Anthony Pettis after that, but Max Griffin, he lost to Chaos Williams, Anthony Pettis, so maybe you give the shot to Chaos Williams or the winner of Chaos Williams and Randy Brown, but there's no reason you should be giving it to Max Brown, a guy that lost to Thiago Alves, Morono, and has not beat anyone near the competition that any of these guys have beat up the rankings right here. Come on, guys. There is no way that these guys should be getting the shot over Tim Means, over Alex Morono, over guys like Chaos Williams, Alizu Zaleski, Randy Brown, Danny Rodriguez. I still don't really understand that. But it should be a pretty easy win for Neil Magny. I'm not saying Max Griffin doesn't have that power to go out there and maybe find the mark and go out there and knock out Neil Magny. But I think Neil, he showed how good his striking was in the last fight with Geoff Neal. He won the fight by unanimous decision, actually outstriking him. He's very tall, very lengthy. If you're going to beat Neil Magny, you got to wrestle, you got to grapple, you got to grind out a decision, kind of like what Michael Chiesa did. That's not what Max Griffin's going to do here. So it's a solid fight here in the welterweight division. Neil Magny striking to a unanimous decision. David Dvorak and Matheus and Nicolau in the flyweight division. Matheus and David, they're both very legit guys in this flyweight division. David, 29 years old. Matheus is also going to be 29 years old. Height is very even, and the reach is also going to be very even. Not really too much to look about there, but Matheus Nicolau coming off some solid wins, beating some guys on the regional scene. Alan Gabriel by Darshok, Felipe Efrain by unanimous decision. Then I wouldn't say beating Manel Kopp, because I do believe Manel Kopp won that fight. He outstruck Matheus Nicolau in that fight. I think that was a little bit of a robbery, but he did get a solid win over Tim Elliott after that. Now he's fighting David Dvorak, a guy that was really, really good on the regional scene, getting a lot of finishes. Joined the UFC, beat Bruno Silva, Jordan Espinosa, and then Juan Camilo Hondero. So, Matheus Nicolau has beaten the better competition, Manel Kopp, as well as Tim Elliott, but I still think David Dvorak is the better fighter here. He's the better striker. He's got very, very good takedown defense, really good boxing, really good kicking game. Overall, he's just a better fighter. Maybe the grappling goes Matheus Nicolau, but he's not going to get the fight to the ground. There should be 3 rounds of striking. David Dvorak should outstrike 29-28 unanimous decision. Sara McMann and Karol Rosa in the bantamweight division. Close fight. It's a tough one to call because Sara McMann, her most recent loss was against the current UFC champion in Juliana Pena right there. She was the favorite in that fight. But again, you look at some of the other losses. Marion Renaud by triangle choke. She beat Lena Landsberg. She beat Gina Mazzani. Both girls unranked in the UFC. And she lost to Marion Renaud. That is absolutely ridiculous. She's 41 years old. She's going to be a little bit taller, a little bit less in terms of reach right there, but she lost to Marion Renaud. It was 4 years ago. She might have improved a little bit there, but Sara McMann, I believe she was either a silver medalist or a gold medalist in either judo or wrestling at the Olympics, but Karol Rosa is also very, very well versed in the wrestling and grappling, going out there in the UFC, beating Lara Procopio by decision, Vanessa Mello by a unanimous decision, Jocelyn Edwards by unanimous decision, Besh Koheda by a unanimous decision. So even though Sara McMann's 2 losses recently are by a submission, and her most of her losses are going to be coming by a submission, Karol Rosa isn't really the submission type. She doesn't have any submissions in the UFC, doesn't even have any submissions in the last 3 years. So I think Karol Rosa goes out there, keeps the wrestling and grappling very, very even, outstrikes Sara McMann on the feet, lands a few takedowns, maybe uses a little bit of clinch work as well, and slightly edges her way to a decision right here. I would not count out Sara McMann. The age may fool you, but she's a very legit wrestler, and she is going to be the better wrestler than Karol Rosa, in my opinion. So I do believe Karol can keep the fight very even in the wrestling, use some clinch work, and have the better striking to win the fight by a decision. But you never know with Sara. You never do know. 1 year layoff, before that a 2-year layoff, before that a 4-year layoff. I mean, you never know with girls like that, but I'm going to go Rosa by a very close decision right there. Aleksei, Oleinik, and Ilir Latifi in the heavyweight division. Ilir Latifi with 38 and a half years of age, going to be a lot bigger than Aleksei Oleinik. He's way, way bigger. Neither guy, I do believe, has to cut weight for the heavyweight division. I mean, Ilir Latifi being 5'10" tall, I mean, it's not really expected you're going to be cutting weight unless you're looking like Daniel Cormier or something like that. Yeah, he's a lot smaller than Aleksei. He's a lot less in terms of reach than Aleksei Oleinik, but I'm going to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter. He's got the power advantage on the feet. He does have the better striking, although both guys do not have really any striking, if I am being quite honest with you. But yeah, he's got wins over some solid guys: Tanner Boser, Ovi St. Preux, only losing to Bellator champion Corey Anderson, Volkan Oezdemir title challenger, and then Derek Lewis, another title challenger. Aleksei Oleinik is on the downturn of his career, losing his last 3 by knockout to Derek Lewis, by knockout to Chris Daukaus, and then by a unanimous decision to Sergey Spivak. So it should be a close fight. I shouldn't really be that close of a fight, but in terms of like who's gonna win, could be close, because Aleksei could go out there at any time, land an Ezekiel choke. You really never know with Aleksei Oleinik. But yeah, that's the only way Aleksei wins, is going to be by submission on the ground. Some way he does that. But you know, Ilir Latifi, being the bigger guy, being the stronger guy, the better wrestler, the better striker, the more powerful guy, he's got the better chin, he's a lot younger than Aleksei. There's so many advantages going his way. I get Ilir Latifi winning this fight by a ground and pound TKO in the first or second round. Matt Brown and Bryan Barberena in the welterweight division. Both guys, I mean, they've been doing decently recently. They're both coming off a win over some younger guys in their careers. Bryan Barberena going out there getting a decision win about 3 months ago against Darian Weeks. And then Matt Brown getting a knockout win on Diego Lima to be the guy in the UFC with the most knockouts in history. I believe he might be like tied with like Derek Lewis or something like that. But the man has power. He knocked out Diego Sanchez with an elbow. He knocked out Ben Saunders. He knocked out Diego Lima. He did lose to guys like Miguel Baeza, Carlos Condit, Donald Cerrone, Damian Maia, Jake Ellenberger, all of them mainly being by finish. But he's got solid wins on his record as well. He beat Stephen Wonderboy Thompson quite a while ago, back in 2012. But yeah, this should be a good fight. I think Bryan Barberena and Matt Brown should have a good striking fest right here. I do believe the power advantage goes towards Matt Brown. The cardio advantage goes towards Matt Brown. The volume advantage might go towards Bryan Barberena. The submission game and the grappling might go Matt Brown. So it's a close fight. I'm not expecting a finish here, if I'm being quite honest with you. I believe it's been 3 fights since Bryan Barberena's last finish. He did get knocked out by Randy Brown with those knees, got knocked out by Vicente Luque as well. I just don't see it. 2 veterans right here going at it. I think they're going to have respect for each other. I think they're going to strike for 3 straight rounds with Matt Brown mixing in some takedowns to kind of wear on the cardio of Bryan Barberena. But I think Matt Brown is overall the better fighter. He's better striker. He's got more power. He's got the better grappling. He's got the better cardio. I think he wins the fight by very close decision right there. Askar Askarov and Kai Kara France in the flyweight division. Very close fight, according to me, but not according to the betting odds. Absolutely insane. Minus 320. Nah, that's the wrong one. Minus 300. Not really much different for Askar Askarov as the 3-1 favorite over Kai Kara France. It is much closer. I still have Askar Askarov winning the fight, but it is much closer than you might have originally thought. Kai Kara France is going to be a little bit smaller than Askar, is a little bit less in terms of reach than Askar Askarov, but he does have the power of it. Sorry, he does have the power advantage, going out there and knocking out Rogerio Bontorin and knocking out Cody Garbrandt. But he did get submitted by Brandon Royval. He did lose to Brandon Moreno, the former UFC champion. And then he beat guys early in his career: Elias Garcia, Raulian Paiva, and then Marc De La Rosa. So they're both very, very legit guys in this flyweight division, but they both have very, very set game plans. Askar Askarov needs to keep the fight at range, have Kai Kara France blitz forward with his powerful punches, go for the takedown, take the fight down, and use his wrestling, use his grappling to secure a decision win. That's my prediction. It is going to be Askar Askarov by a decision, but there's a good chance Karol lands that knockout blow. The power that this man has, yeah, I mean, his last knockout win was against a guy, no chin Garbrandt, but still, the power that he was able to land there 3 or 4 times, just consistently knocking down Cody Garbrandt in that fight. There's no way I'm going to say Askarov should be that big of a favorite. It's a very close one here in the flyweight division. Would not be surprised in the slightest if Karol goes out there and wins the fight, but should be an Askarov win. He's the better fighter in the grappling and in the wrestling. Askarov by a unanimous decision. Joanne Calderwood and Alexa Grasso in the women's flyweight division, 28 and a half years old, and then 26 years and 3 months and 3 days old right there. So she's going to have the height advantage, and Alexa Grasso will have the reach advantage. I'm definitely going to go Alexa Grasso here. I'm pretty sure the odds are probably heavily favoring Alexa. Yeah, she's about a 2-1 favorite as for right now. Losing to solid opponents. Jennifer Maia by armbar right there. Lauren Murphy by a split decision. And then Tyler Santos by rear naked choke submission. Losing, or actually getting wins over Andrea Lee as well as Jessica I think Alexa Grasso is a better fighter than Andrea Lee. She's the better fighter than Jessica I. She might be a better fighter than Laura Murphy and Jennifer Maia as well. Maybe not like Tyler Santos, but she's definitely better than the girls that Joanne Calderwood has been beating. She beat Macy Barber by unanimous decision, Ji-Yeon Kim by unanimous decision, and Carolina Kowalik by a unanimous decision, only losing to a girl that probably should have fought against Valentina Shevchenko for the belt, if not for her injuries. And then Carla Esparza, who's about to be fighting against Rose Namajunas on UFC 274. We're going to talk about that one in a bit. But yeah, she's only losing to title challenger type opponents. Joanne Calderwood is kind of there. I mean, she was about to get a title shot if she did win against Jennifer Maia. She did not win, and now she's on that losing streak. Only 1 win in her last 4. She's fighting Alexa Grasso, who's the better boxer. She's got solid takedown defense. Just the overall better striker, and I think this is going to be the passing of the torch. Maybe the last fight with Tyler Santos was a little bit of the passing of the torch, but still, this is another version of that. Alexa Grasso outstriking Joanne Calderwood for 3 rounds and winning the fight by a unanimous decision. Curtis Blaydes and Chris Daukaus in the heavyweight division, 31 years old and 32 and a half years old. Surprising that Curtis Blaydes is actually going to be younger than Chris Daukaus. That is insane, though. Chris Daukaus lost to Derek Lewis. Curtis Blaydes lost to Derek Lewis. He did beat Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Alexander Volkov, Junior Dos Santos, Shamil Abdurrahimov, only losing to, of course, Derek Lewis, a title challenger, Francis Ngannou, a title holder, and then Francis Ngannou one more time, where Chris Daukaus did beat a lot of similar opponents as Curtis Blaydes, Shamil Abdurrahimov, Aleksei Oleinik, Rodrigo Nascimento, and then Parker Porter. The way Chris Daukaus is going to win the fight is going to be at range, having Curtis Blaydes come to him, and him just kind of go in and out, very, very fast shots on the feet. But I don't know if that's going to happen, because Curtis Blaydes having the height advantage as well as the reach advantage, it's going to be pretty hard for Chris Daukaus to get in and out. Yeah, he's a very, very fast, very elusive striker, especially for this heavyweight division. But eventually, Curtis Blaydes, he's going to be landing the shots at range because he is taller, he is lengthier. He's going to be able to land the 1-2s and things like that. But he's a wrestler. I mean, he went out there and took down Volkov, Alexander Volkov, like what? 10 times, 11 times in their fight. What is that? What is stopping me from saying that Curtis Blaydes is not going to take down Chris Daukaus like 20 times in this fight? There's nothing. So I think Chris Daukaus got a good shot of winning here. Maybe he goes for another uppercut like Derek Lewis did, but it's a close fight. It's heavyweight. Any one punch can change the fight's outcome 100%. But I think Curtis, I mean, he was actually outstriking Derek Lewis in their fight. He's a legit striker as well as a legit wrestler. So I think on the feet, he keeps it very, very even and eventually lands a takedown and finishes Chris Daukaus. Actually, I don't think so. I'm going to go decision here. I know there's a very, very, very high chance that Curtis Blaydes goes out there and gets a TKO. They're kind of split right there. Decision and knockout is very, very split. I'm going to lean slightly towards the decision for Blaydes right there. Really good fight in the heavyweight division. Yeah, I got Curtis Blaydes winning his fight. I got Alexa Grasso winning. I got Askarov winning, but that is a very, very close one. I got Matt Brown slightly winning. I got Ilir Latifi winning. I got Karol Rosa winning, although you never know with the wrestling of Sara McMann. I got Sungwoo Choi winning, but I'm not a confident pick. David Dvorak winning. I got Magny winning. Viacheslav Borshchev winning. Bruno Souza in a very, very close fight. Danaa Batgerel, Fiorot in a much closer fight than it's going to be anticipated for. And then I got Aliaskhab Khizriev. So the closest fights that I have on here for the people that I'm picking to win is going to be Bruno Souza, Manon Fiorot, Sungwoo Choi, and then Matt Brown and the Askarov one. Those are the close fights on this card. I cannot wait for this card. It's going to be a banger. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and as usual, if you want to see all of the bets that we will be making for UFC Fight Night Blaydes versus Daukaus, if you want to see what bets we'll make for an entire month, an entire 30 days, you can become a member. Go to the channel, click this join button if you're on computer. If you're not going to be on computer, you don't have to go into this mode right here and click the join button. You just got to go to any one of my videos and literally go to the last 10 seconds of that video, and from there you can literally go, let's see right here, you can go to the last 10 seconds and click this one right here. It's a profile picture on the left side. Click that one and you can become a member for 10 cents a day. A dime a day. You can buy a full water bottle for a full month of Burr MMA bets. So make sure you become a member. Make sure you go down and hit the like button as well. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and do all that good stuff. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next video.